Welcome back, everyone, to the Game Mode Creative Podcast, the podcast for Minecraft builders. How have you been, Rainboom? I've heard you had a birthday recently.
Yes, maybe or maybe not.
If that's okay
also,
for me to
welcome
mention
and
on.
hi. Yeah, I'll go for it. No, it's perfectly fine. Although I guess it also depends on, well, no, you know what? I know I can trust you're more consistent on releasing this, so we'll know that the birthday actually didn't happen too long after it actually happened, or not too long before this episode would be released. So yes, I did have a birthday recently. That was fun. But aside from that, it's also been busy in terms of just projects never getting done, and I've been trying to play back old episodes in my head to try to think of tips we used to share with one another. And I'm going, here I am, working with all these projects and not even being able to act on what I was able to talk about in a previous episode. Now I feel ashamed sharing that.
Hey, that's kind of like me with my tutorials. I teach people how to use commands, but then I even have to reference my own videos sometimes to remember how things go. So that's understandable.
Oh, it's an interesting phenomenon, isn't it? Well, I mean, I'm sure today's topic will not have anything to do with tips and tricks. It might just be more reflections. Although I think there are some things that might be related to tips or personal preference, because I think this is interesting to talk about in that we'll be looking at different Minecraft versions and our thoughts on where we normally play, how up to date we are, or maybe we'll just see where the conversation goes. I mean, first off, if you know me, you know that I'm somebody who's very slow with version updates. So I'm probably going to be the person living under a rock while Minecraft Live is going on and all the new updates and all the features, if there was mob voting. Is that still a thing, mob voting?
No, it is not. I better catch you up on Minecraft Live since you mentioned it. Did you watch
honestly,
it?
for people, no.
Okay.
And I think for anybody, if you're listening and you haven't watched it either or have had no dealings with the latest Minecraft Live, Meg, give us the express version, I guess.
Okay, the express Meg version is, well, I actually heard this from other people, other sources, but I found out they're actually doing 2 Minecraft Lives now. So they're doing one for the December release, whatever that is. That was this one. Then they're going to have another one next year where they're going to announce whatever is going to be released in June. So they're splitting up the Minecraft Live for each release. So this one, because the December updates are generally smaller, this was a very small update that they gave because they were only adding one biome and one mob and whatever blocks that are involved in that. So there really weren't very many new things with this. And like you suggested, there was no mob vote. I think they're doing away with mob votes entirely.
I did hear a bit about that, yeah.
Yeah, but the new feature that's coming this December is the Pale Garden, which is a new biome, basically an eerie sort of forest in the overworld where you walk in and it desaturates the entire world when you walk in. So the sky turns gray when you're inside this biome. And the block palettes...
Literally pale forest, yeah.
Yeah, and all of the blocks and colors in it are really desaturated also. But that comes with a new wood type, the pale wood, which is a white wood. It looks really pretty, actually. I'm really excited about the white trapdoor variant. That's something that I've always wanted. So that's probably my most excited new block that's coming. And then they're also introducing the new creaking mob, which is a kind of spooky mob. I wasn't too thrilled about it when they announced it, to be honest, because do we really need more scary things?
Mob, right?
Yes, he's hostile.
Yes.
Do we really need more scary things in Minecraft? But no, it is kind of cool though, because to me, he looks like he's made out of wood. So to me, he's like the Minecraft end, the end of Minecraft, but an evil one. It's kind of cool though, because he will attack you and move around when you're not looking. But as soon as you stare at him, he turns into a statue.
Oh,
so he only moves when he's not being
mechanic.
looked at. Yeah, and you can't actually kill him or hurt him. The only way to destroy him is to get rid of the creaking, is to dig up the creaking heart, which is being linked to him, which is life force. Kind of similar to how the Ender Dragon uses the end crystals to get life, except you can't hurt him at all with the creaking heart around. And so you have to locate that, dig it up, and then he will despawn. And with that creaking heart, you can place it down in other locations if you use Silk Touch with it. You can place it down anywhere again and respawn him anywhere if you want to, if you wanted to do that.
Oh, interesting. So you can't exactly directly kill the mob in a sense.
You can destroy it. I don't think it would have any drops though, because there's no way to actually kill the mob. The only way to get rid of it is to pick up the heart. So he's kind of just like a lingering presence. If anything, he would be good as like a defense. If you're playing on an SMP and you just wanted to defend your base against, I don't know, enemies, you could surround it with them. But I think he only spawns at night. I don't know if that's only in low light levels or if it actually has to be nighttime, but they do only spawn at night.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, and even for just one biome and one mob, there's still a lot that goes into the new version, right? And then of course are they calling this 1.22 or is it basically
I actually don't know. And I did forget to mention the new blocks. Really, the main ones are the wood blocks, all of the white wood and all of those variants, but there's also a new type of like a pale moss carpet type of thing, and this other mossy vine that grows on the trees, kind of like a Spanish moss. That was their inspiration for it. So a new vine type, a new wood type, a new carpet type, and if there was other blocks involved, I don't remember them at the moment.
Oh, that's fine. I guess we'll find out whatever seems to find, because, it's always interesting. We find creative uses for blocks you only think have one purpose or something like that. Eventually, somebody makes a breakthrough discovery in terms of how a certain block can be used. I think, I'm not sure how back many versions early it was, but there are several examples, I think, in all of the Minecraft versioning history. I think that definitely is the thing, especially from a creative perspective. Like you kind of also have to be a little bit more literally creative. In a sense, sometimes if you want to try to incorporate certain blocks. But do you know of any blocks that you saw that might fall into that category that are sort of they're like, I think this is very specific, and I don't know if I'll be able to use it as a
They
creative
didn't introduce that
builder.
many new ones, but there was the creaking heart, which I don't know if you would use that in creative or not, but you could potentially. It has a very unique look about it.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Well, I guess I'm brought up to speed now. For now, a little bit.
Yes.
I don't know. I heard you had plans on trying to quiz me on some things, but I'm sure that maybe I'll warm up to it as we start talking about versioning before you start to grill me on this podcast and find out how true of a Minecrafter I am.
Hey, I didn't know the answers to all these.
So
I had to look them up myself. So.
So you cheated? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I am the quiz master. I make the quiz and then.
Yes. No, what I was curious about is, and I think we'll start with just something about the general versions that you stick with. Are you somebody, Meg, who, I guess now I'm asking a question, as you were just talking about being a quizmaster, now I'm being a quizmaster. Do you think that you're somebody who likes to stick to the latest version, or do you kind of lag a version or two behind, for whatever reason or another?
Well, for me, when it comes to building, I'm fully dependent on the mods I use, and they always take forever to update. Especially the more mods you use, the more plugins you use, you tend to have to wait longer then for everything to update to work together. So I'm always several versions behind. Currently, I'm primarily building in 120.4, just because all of the mods and plugins I use are updated to that version. I could possibly go to 121, but there are still some mods out there I'm waiting to update that I can't live without. So yeah. I'm kind of stuck to whatever the modding community is doing and how up to date they can stay. That's basically where I'm at. How about yourself?
I see. Yeah. And I'm pretty similar, I'd say, because, well, even for me, all the more so, because I'm usually kind of somebody who, I wouldn't say resistant to change, but it takes me a while to really adjust to things. Because I think one of the problems I have is that every time there's a major update or whenever, because I used to rely on friends who had mod packs that were already kind of pre-assembled that had all the essentials, and I would just download a mod pack and then just kind of unpack them and get my new profile set up for the new version. But ever since I have fallen out of touch with those mod packs, then I've been having to go source out specific mods, and I wouldn't say I'm like a super heavy mod user. But the ones that I do use are pretty essential to speeding up operations or actually doing creative things, to where I'm kind of afraid if there become conflicts with mods or other compatibility problems. So I kind of just say I'm going to stick with whatever is known to be 100% stable. And do away with the new blocks. And I think that also kind of is hand in hand with why I haven't really followed the latest updates very often, where I'm sort of going, I'm happy with the blocks that I've got. And if it just so happens that there's a bonus block that is the result of a new biome or the reworking of a biome, then sure, I might have some extra things to use. I'm trying to think of a recent example of a block that I found out was, I think it was a 119 or 120 block that I only ever started using once I switched to that version. Prior to, I was kind of hearing people using it, and I said, "Oh, sorry, I have no clue what you're talking." I think it's the cherry wood or whatever that was. The cherry blossom wood, and then the bamboo ones as well. Those are blocks I never started using until maybe the past couple months or so with a build or two. But I know they've been out for a long time. I think. So
well, yeah, since
that just comes to show.
Since 120, I think, is when the at least the bamboo. Yeah. I forget about the cherry wood.
Either way, but that's kind of why. So for me, it's kind of a similar situation, but probably even more, I guess, conservative with my upgrades, because I sort of am going, well, once I develop a full profile, I want to get used to it and not have to make too many changes and have to go through the whole mod updating cycle. But I have to remind myself on a regular basis that, well, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. Every once in a while, I'm going to have to go and update my different profiles, get all the mods up to date, assuming that they have releases already for them. So it's kind of the same situation for me, I would say. But in an ideal world, if mods were not a problem and they all came out in like a timely fashion, I would have probably no issues just working with the latest version. Now, that being said, there are some people that will lock themselves to some versions for whatever reason. Like, I know I think even Builder's Refuge has, for instance, like there's still a 1.12 world or whatever, right? Or
yeah, I don't know if people still
example.
Use that. But that was the reason that was around for so long and still is around. I really don't know how many people still use it. But Builder's Refuge jumped from 112, and the next version they updated to was 116. Because there was a huge gap because there just wasn't. That was like when all of the coding and stuff changed for a lot of.
Yes.
I don't know the technical terms, but that's where a lot of how Minecraft worked changed. So a lot of mods were just not updating like they should have been. And yeah, it took them forever to get to 116, and then from there it got easier for them to update, but they still kept the 112 world around, probably because they just had it for so long that people were just constantly using it and got used to using it. But I honestly don't know how many people still use it. But yeah, it is still
actively
a thing.
For whatever reason or other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know there's some places, for instance, that will say they're gonna stay at a certain version. Let's say, for instance, 1.8, like pre 1.9, for very specific, for the reason that there were mechanics that were in that stage of Minecraft that the newer versions no longer have. So, for instance, I think some PvP-oriented places that aren't necessarily concerned about all the new blocks and releases and mobs and all that, but that the mechanics are specifically what they're looking for, they will stick to a 1.8 environment rather than going with the upgrades. Of course, I almost wonder how exactly they still get support for mods, if they have mods and plugins they have to do for such an old version. I mean, I guess they stay forever, but you probably just won't get help or support on it because it's such an old version, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. But then again, if you're trying to build anything in 1.8, you probably don't need that much because you have far less to work with.
I think so, yeah. It's funny. I've never actually been back that far in recent days. I know there was one time, I think the version was 114 or 15 at the time, and I went back and basked in some nostalgia way back when I started in 2014 or so. And I think at that time the version was just before, I think it was just at the cusp of 1.9. And so I went back to revisit, and even that, just between those versions, between the 1.14.15 and that 1.8.9, there were already massive differences, and you could almost feel like the game was so much lighter in 1.8.9 compared to what it was in that version. Yeah. Now, of course, we have even more versions after that now, and you're looking back and going, wow, that doesn't look like there's a lot here in 1.14 or 15 or something like that. Have you looked back at old versions?
I started in 1.8, but I honestly don't remember what it was like playing in 1.8. I'm sure it was much simpler. But yeah, now that you mention it, 1.14 even seems so long ago. That was pre another update even. So that's... Yeah. And then 1.12 was pre-ocean update. So like the oceans were still very bare and nothing in them. I always ask this. I always wonder how people getting into Minecraft within the last couple years or even this year, you know, just recently, they have a lot more of catching up to do with all of the new things. I mean, I can't imagine getting into the game now. For me, it was a very gradual, with each update, learning one new thing at a time. I didn't have to take it in all at once because, you know, when you start in 1.8, there wasn't nearly as much you had to know back then.
Yeah. I think the mechanic, well, because there was mostly just the basic survival instinct if you were doing that, and then much fewer. Well, I mean, actually, even the crafting mechanics. Was it the redstone? There were other mechanics. Oh, the dyes, all that stuff. Because we have all the extra tables now, like the loom, the other extra crafting tables for tools and stuff. Whereas all that was basically done on a crafting table before all those were introduced.
Oh yeah, you used to have to memorize your recipes. I used to have to Google the recipes and memorize them before the recipe book.
Yes. Even there were potions. I remember somebody had a very meticulous potion chart. I mean, I think those are still pretty useful, but it's still funny where
I still don't know how to do every single potion.
Yeah. But people wouldn't really carry around as much now. Well, I guess crafting recipes are more relevant because you have the book now. You don't have to worry about.
Yeah, now most of this does pertain to survival Minecraft, and we're mainly here to talk about creative mode. But you know,
well...
I do play I do play the newest versions in survival first generally before ever doing them in creative because I like to be as familiar. This is why I was going to say this earlier when you were going on a tangent. I do like to be familiar with the newer versions. Even if I'm not doing it in creative, I still want to be aware of how everything works. So that's why I generally, if I am playing a newer version, I'm doing it in survival first. And then if I want, and then it gets me spoiled on the new blocks. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to update my creative world to get these new blocks. But yeah, I am trying to experience the new stuff first in survival because I don't need as many mods and stuff to do that.
That's true, because it's lightweight, and then you're almost basically playing the new version, quote unquote, as intended, because then you get the full experience of what
right. And I like to know the mechanics and stuff. I like to know how the game works.
Yeah. But then there are also some updates where you get some back end updates. For instance, we were talking about where all the coding changed. One of the most recent examples, and I still don't know what version it was. It's such a minor detail, but it still threw me off because I use this so much. And I think we talked about this in a recent episode too.
I think we talked about it last time.
Name.
Yeah, that was the last episode.
The grass name. I'll bring it up again just in case you haven't listened to the last episode yet. Was it Mulberry?
Yep.
And so that threw me off because for the longest time since I was not tuned in to the latest updates, I thought that grass was still called just grass or tall grass or things like that. Apparently they added short to it, probably to reduce confusion with the grass block and all the other things and maybe simplifying it that way. But that was such a minor thing, at least at face value when you think about it. But for me, being somebody who textures with grass a lot in my city project and other terrain related things, then it's a big deal because if the world edit commands don't work properly, then you're left scratching your head thinking, I have this all correctly, then what am I doing wrong? And forgetting it was a whole new version change that prevented me from being able to use the old names. I don't know if the numbers are still consistent, though. I guess they are. Would they be? The numeric IDs of everything?
If a block has a numeric ID, it is the same. But not any blocks past 1.12. So anything 113 and up does not have it.
Uh-huh. Yes, that's right. Otherwise, we'd probably have blocks in the thousands very soon.
All right, I have a random question. This is not part of the regular quiz, by the way. This is a different question.
Okay.
I was just going to ask as a way to kickstart some kind of conversation here. Is there a block that once you started using it, you couldn't live without it? And I'm going to tack on to that, meaning once you started using this particular block from a particular version, you can't imagine building in any version below that.
Oh.
Like you're kind of dependent on this block now. You're kind of stuck in this version and beyond.
Uh-huh. Okay. I have a couple of things that come to mind, but I think I'll talk about the first thing that really leapt out to me. And interestingly, it's the stripped wood variants.
Mm.
Now, the reason why I say this is because this is something that to me was a game changer for a lot of interior design. I was super limited. I mean, I still kind of look back and I say, it's kind of cool that Minecraft, like vanilla Minecraft, could still cater to very realistic looking textures. And I'm talking pre 112. Like I'm going to say even right when I started at 1.8.9 where I could still kind of make something look like it was realistic. But of course, it was very crude and very cartoony, so you could clearly tell it was Minecraft. But the stripped wood variants gave me extra options now. So, and first off, I mean, well, now you have 6 completely different variants of wood. It's the same 6, but then you have another sub-variant to them. So then 12 different pieces of wood or different types of wood. Who wouldn't want that? So that for me was a game changer because it then allowed me to incorporate the stripped wood on many different places, whether it was for flooring, like for checkerboard flooring, check patterns, wall patterns. If I didn't want to use full wood, I guess what would they be called now? Just wood or wood logs and stuff. It was like a nice softer texture, and I think 90% of my builds, if not all of them, will have stripped wood in there somewhere. I think that's probably the one. My second one was going to be all the colored concrete, but I think that's kind of a second. So I will stick with the stripped wood.
When did the stripped wood get added? What version was that?
I think it was 113. I think it was 113.
13 or 14? I don't really know. 113 was the aquatic update.
About, yeah. I think it was one of those ones there. I know it was definitely after the color update, though.
Okay. Well, yeah, I knew. Yeah. Had to have been. I remember when the stripped wood was first added, it took me a while to remember that it was an option, but that was even with me just playing in survival mode. Like I would forget, like, oh yeah, I have the stripped variant to work with now. Sometimes it does take me a while to get used to just having more options because I sometimes feel like we already have a lot of options. So then just getting used to the idea of, oh, now there's even more options. What am I going to pick to use for this part of a build?
Yeah. Oh, here's another minor one, actually. If this one's actually even more specific, and that is the smooth sandstone. I remember that you used to have to debug that stuff. It wasn't a vanilla block.
Huh.
In order to get the smooth surface sandstone, yeah, because you only either had cut, and the closest you could get was cut sandstone, and that was just kind of tiled, and you would hope that no one would look at the lines. But eventually, with the introduction of smooth sandstone as a block rather than as just the bottom face of a cut sandstone block that you kind of just slapped on all the faces. I think there was a special ID for it too. Same thing with smooth stone. There was like the full slab.
I remember there used to be a special ID for the full wood block that people would have to.
Really?
You used to have to place a full wood block with World Edit only with a special ID. You couldn't get it in your creative. You couldn't get it in like your inventory normally. You had to do it with World Edit.
Yeah. But exactly that. So, but now we have wood textures where all the sides.
Yeah, now they're actually in the game.
Exactly. So I was not a big debugging. Well, not really. It wasn't really debugging at that time. It was kind of more of special /give commands or whatever kinds of special commands they were that you would use to get those. Or I think it was a numeric ID actually. But again, you had to know the ID in order to be able to place it anywhere. And I think the 2 blocks I'm thinking of were that one, the smooth sandstone, and then there was, I forgot if it was the double slab of smooth stone, or if it was basically the top face of that slab, but on all 6 sides, which I think now is just called smooth stone. But both of those, you had to have them very indirectly. Like they were just hidden in the list of block IDs, but they were not vanilla blocks that you could just get. So ever since those became standard, then, I've used them a lot. Everywhere. For roads, for other ways to texture up smooth sandstone, again, for flooring. It's just been so versatile that I could never go back to where I just had cut sandstone and the very choppy looking version of if I needed a vertical wall with all the smooth stone, I would have only had double slabs back in the day, but now I have the proper full top face and it works just fine. So, I mean, that's a very oddly specific thing, but I think now that you're talking about this and now you ask the question, it sort of got my mind thinking. I'm like, well, what are the other blocks?
I was thinking about this, how I would answer it. And
yeah,
I think I have to pick one of the newest blocks. And one of the newest blocks that I found that I used constantly and I would not be able to go back to not having it is all of the bamboo blocks because it's the first ever yellowish, like pure yellow golden stairs and slabs and trapdoors, and I love using gold as an accent in my builds. So I've been abusing the bamboo blocks quite a lot in a lot of things I've been building, and I can't imagine not having it now. So I'm kind of spoiled on 1.20, and I don't know how I would be able to build anything before that.
It's such a pivotal block. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm sure that once I start incorporating it, I'll never be able to go back either, surely.
Yeah, those trapdoors are wonderful.
It's crazy, yeah. I mean, because we were always looking for a trapdoor of that color or something that was just small enough.
Oh, and if you pair it with a scaffolding, you get a perfect chair because it matches scaffolding perfectly.
Yes, that is true. I've been having to work with mostly oak trapdoors. Have these massive, funky looking chairs where you could clearly tell that they were mismatched. But I mean, I said, you know what? As long as they look like chairs, I'm not really too picky about them. And honestly, even using the scaffolding as a chair was already that was a game changer, because before that I had to work with slabs and make them look like they were
slabs
chairs.
And stairs,
slabs or stairs. Yeah, that whole and then you had to also debug being able to sit on them, which was also a whole big exciting plugin for whatever servers or places had it. I actually tried to code that. This is a wild tangent which I'll try to come off of really quickly, but I actually tried to code that one time in my very brief stint at doing plugin work, and it worked, but I started causing some really weird, unexpected side effects in the game that started leaving weird traces of other things that weren't supposed to happen. So I said, I better just get a full version of this plugin from somebody and just do that. But yeah, that was my brief foray into plugin work, which has nothing to do with versioning. Although I'm sure that, I wonder if being somebody who does development in this kind of newer version of Minecraft, if it's easier because it's such a well-supported community now of plugin developers and that, or if it's harder because of all the different things that there are to consider from a blocks and IDs and mechanics perspective compared to, say, an older version. But I'll leave that maybe with a developer.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to ask. We'll have to ask when we ever have one on here again.
Maybe we should call the panel, get Mulberry on, get Mike on, get everybody, and have like a big panel discussion.
Oh, that would be fun. We should do that sometime.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Or anybody really, for that matter, and so on. Or maybe we might have you, if you're listening on, potentially. Who knows? Well, that might be audience participation instead. But Meg, you mentioned you have a quiz or something, didn't you?
You want to test your Minecraft knowledge with my poorly formed questions?
I've been itching in my seat to figure out, and almost dying to know what these questions are.
Well, we better start off with the most important one. Our podcast is called Game Mode Creative, so that we can discuss, the creative game mode and the creative side of Minecraft. But do you know what version the creative game mode was added to Minecraft?
Oh golly, that I'm already a dead end.
No
Isn't
cheating.
That interesting.
No cheating.
It's got to be early. Okay, I'm not even. You don't hear any clicking. I also don't have any noise reduction on this. So if you can hear. This is my table. You might hear me tapping my nails on it right now. So if you would hear me typing if I was looking, I'm gonna have to just wildly guess. It's got to be an early version. I'm gonna say it's an alpha version.
It was Minecraft beta.
Oh.
You were close. You're very close.
It was close. I was like, I'd better not name a version. It's got to be one of the earliest ones. But really, so Minecraft beta was when it was
still
first
before the
introduced.
official
Very
release.
interesting.
But yeah.
Yes. So it was not really a 1 dot something release essentially. But okay, all right, kind of in the area, sure.
Some of my questions, I don't know how good they are. And if I do have the incorrect answers on these, I did my best in researching this. So if they're wrong, oh well. But
blame the quiz master.
The quiz. Okay, maybe I'm not much of a master then, but so
the quiz guru. I don't know.
Okay, what were the first blocks ever created in Minecraft? So the earliest iteration of Minecraft, what blocks existed? There were only 5. That is your clue.
There are only 5. Okay, I'm guessing now. Does dirt and grass count as a separate block each,
yes,
or are they kind of the same thing?
I count them as separate blocks.
Okay, so I'll say, well, Let's see. Grass block, dirt block, sand, stone. I'm not sure if water really counts, but
I think water would count, but water was not there now.
was not there. Okay. So what did I have? I had stone, sand, grass, block, dirt, and I need one more to fill this. I'm kind of thinking like what could potentially be, and I could very well be wrong with all this right now with some of these options. Don't tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I must fill these 5 out first before I even get anywhere. And I don't know, coal or something, coal ore or something like that.
Very bold. Very bold guess.
Or man, can I change it for one of the trees?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm probably going to change it to an oak. Probably I'll change it. But no, it couldn't be because then there should be the leaves also. All right, I'm going to stick it with coal. I'm just going to say that. I'll fail gracefully on this.
According to the wiki, from what I was able to find, the only blocks in the pre-classic version of Minecraft, which is what it's called, were cobblestone, stone, grass block, dirt, and wood planks. They weren't even called oak planks yet. They were just wood planks.
That would make sense. A singular wood. Yes, cobblestone. Of course. Of course. Yeah, that would make sense. So I guess it was before even any kind of terraining was really done for different biomes. It was all just...
It was just a flat world. Just a flat generation.
Flat world.
Yeah, I've never played in that version, but I just saw a screenshot of it, so...
This almost seems like the sort of stuff we should kind of have early Minecraft gameplay just... playing on the video visualizer version of this in the background, just so people can see what it looks like. But I don't want to give you too much to do.
Let's go to the next question.
All right.
In what version were a set of the traditional 16 color set? When were they first introduced? What version?
Oh boy. So kind of in the way that the way they're formatted today, because I don't think it's changed ever since, right?
Right.
Probably.
So like it's the same 16 colors, but I mean, it was a particular block they were added in as first, but what version was that?
But what version was that?
And what block, if you know?
Oh, I'm going to guess wool as the block.
Yes, it was wool.
And I'm probably going to, it was probably wool because of all the sheep. I'm going to say 1.5 dot something. I don't know if I should be that, because I don't know what the second dot's going to be. So I'm just going to say something somewhere in 1.5 is my guess.
It was Minecraft Classic, which was before Alpha.
Oh, even before even Alpha?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was. I think that was directly after the pre-classic. So it was like the second thing they added, like in the second round of updates, was they added they added all of the wool types, or the wool colors. They also added flowers and glass and I don't know what else, but I just thought it was interesting that those 16 colors were kind of determined early on. It was... Yeah. And it's just been the same ever since. And like we just get a bunch of different blocks in all of those colors.
That use the colors. And of course some that do have questionable versions of the colors. But that being said, at least you know that they're still there. That hasn't changed no matter what it is.
Well, let me know when you're ready for the next question. I got several more.
Go ahead.
What I often refer to as the vertical slabs of Minecraft, that would be the wall block. What do you know when the first wall was added and what was it?
The first wall. I'm going to probably guess it was a cobblestone wall. And that was probably, I'm going to probably say it was in Minecraft beta if we're talking this far back.
You are correct that it was the cobblestone wall, but it was in version 1.4.2 that it was added.
I should have gone with a version this time.
Trying to trip you up.
I probably got a 30% not even 30% score on this right now. I didn't
know the answers to these either. I was making these up and doing research at the same time. So
I would be losing a lot of money if this was Minecraft Jeopardy or something like that. Oh boy. But yeah, well, go ahead. I'm curious to see how many.
Okay, next one is when was the first trapdoor added? You don't have to guess what type it was, but I'm pretty sure we all know what it was.
Yeah. First trapdoor is probably going to be, I'm going to use 1.5 again. Something.
Well, okay, I wrote down Minecraft Beta 1.6, but I don't know if that Beta 1.6 is before. I'm not sure exactly where that lands. I forget now, but yeah, that's what I wrote down.
I'm going to assume it was beta, and I probably should just stuck with beta then. Another trick question. There you go. I'm out of sync with this trivia. I'm kidding.
Okay. I hope I'm wording this question correctly. It was kind of hard for me to figure out how to get the point across, but what was the first decorative block added to the game? Decorative as in it's purposely made as decoration. It's not like a single material, if that makes sense.
Right. So it's like in the what would fall under the tab of decoration blocks?
Well, yes, but I mean, I feel like there's other blocks that could apply to that.
Well, that's true.
But I think this one was intentionally made for decoration purposes.
Okay. Which one was the first one?
Mm-hmm. And what version?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm torn between, and I'm just wildly taking a guess here, whether it's a flower pot or a painting. I'm going to just say a painting for fun.
Nope. Although I think the paintings were added after this.
Okay, but it was not a lot far
The earliest
before,
one that I could find that I'm classifying as a decorative block is the bookshelf.
The bookshelf. Okay. Yes, that's true. It is basically decorative in that sense. How far back was this? Did it say a version or anything too?
No, not in a version. It was Minecraft Classic.
Oh, right. Okay.
Same when the wool was added. So the wool was added, and also the bookshelf and a few other things. Which it's just funny what made them pick whatever blocks they decided to add back then.
Yeah. Because, I mean, how books would even been constructed, you would have had to have the cow mob at that time, I'm sure, too, right? For the leather, assuming that's how you got leather back in that time, too.
I don't even think leather was a thing. I think I remember when was leather added? I feel like that was added way after the cows were added.
I figure so because to me the only way to make a book is by using leather, but I'm sure that unless the bookshelves did not drop anything.
Exist. It was just bookshelf.
That would make sense. Okay, that's what it was. So they strictly were just decorative at least unless you wanted to use them for something that wasn't a bookshelf.
This next one, I don't know if my answer is correct because I was trying to figure it out. The answer is more of an estimation.
Okay.
How many unique light emitting blocks currently exist in the game? And when I say light emitting blocks, I'm grouping them. So just to give you one example, I'm not counting all the types of frog lights as individual light sources. I'm just counting frog lights as one light source. So I have them grouped by type, but how many different types of emitting blocks are there? Light emitting blocks.
So, sure.
So give a number that you think it is.
All right. So counting them, listing them out, it's going to be considered cheating. Is that right?
It's a pretty long list, so you might just want to guess a number.
Well, because I was going to say there are things like, where was I going to start? I'm going to start doing this in my head. Sea lanterns, glowstone, redstone lamps. We're only counting stuff you can obtain from the creative menu, right? So light blocks don't count.
Well, I didn't count light blocks. If I do count light blocks, it will just be an extra number on there. I am counting some things that are not in the creative menu though. They are like light emitting blocks, but you can only place them with commands if you wanted to.
Right. Okay. So then I have 4 there. We're going to count the different torches as 5, the lanterns as 6, the frog lights, whatever it is, 7, shroom light is 8. I'm going to just, assuming I've probably not covered a couple others, I'm going to say 10.
It's a lot more than 10.
Oh, golly.
Okay, if we're including the light blocks, those invisible light blocks like you use in creative mode, if we're counting those, it's at least 40.
Oh, wow. No wonder you said it would not be worth going to try to list them all.
Did you know,
so I'm guessing
some of the more surprising ones, did you know that a brown mushroom emits one light level?
Oh, even that. Okay, so you know what? I was probably thinking stuff that had to be 8 or higher. But if that's the case, that is going to open things up massively. But brown mushrooms, I would have never guessed that, though. That's so because see that for me was going to then add the repeater block, like the little that stuff. Even redstone, honestly, when it's lit.
Actually, I was looking it up, and redstone dust does not emit light. It says so.
Oh, emitting light. It just it looks like it visually, but it doesn't
looks like it, but it doesn't actually
functional...
emit light. Yeah.
Ah, okay. However, the repeaters and that stuff, do those emit light when they kind of light up?
I didn't see them on a list. I could be wrong if they. I didn't look all of those up, but
that's fair. That's fair.
But my list is pretty extensive.
Really
I was actually surprised at how many things we have that do emit light. It's a lot more than you'd think. I'll just to go down the list real quick. There's beacons, conduits, and the end portal.
Beacons, of course. Yes. Yes.
Any type of fire. Sea pickles, regular fire. Wait, I have fire on here twice. One of them might be a campfire.
The campfire, potentially.
Oh, if I have that on here twice, then maybe my number is off. But it's close enough.
It's still the ballpark of 40, I'd say.
Frog
so
lights,
I think if you remove that and add that,
jack-o'-lantern, lantern, lava.
Oh yeah.
Redstone lamp, you said that one. Respawn anchor, sea lantern, shroom light, cave vines, end rods.
Yes, those do. That's right.
I listed these three.
I use those all the time.
Blast furnace, and smoker, but they have to be lit for them to emit light. But they still can emit light. Candles.
They can emit light. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Crying obsidian.
Goodness. Yeah, I've forgotten all these.
Enchanting table, ender chest, glow lichen, redstone torch, skulk catalyst, amethyst cluster, and amethyst buds. They all emit a low level of light. Magma block, brewing stand, brown mushroom, dragon egg, end portal, skulk sensor, copper bulb. Yeah, that was just some of them.
Wow. Okay.
A lot more than you think, though, right?
Yes, but the thing, and it's funny because once you start to realize that there are that many, then you'll understand that that's why it just sounds like a lot, but really there is a lot.
But
I was just probably thinking very
aren't like
specific,
building blocks per se, and a lot of them emit light, but they're not something that you'd necessarily use as a light source.
As a light source, and some of them are conditional, right? Because, for instance, the furnaces, they have to be lit in order to be actually emitting light, but otherwise they're not going to.
I mean,
do
the same
it
for
all.
a campfire. You can.
And that too, because you can extinguish the campfire if you want to. Yeah, that's true. Very interesting. Yeah, but for of course, from a creative perspective. We do want the ones that actually emit light, I think.
Right. We do.
for good reason.
Even for
I
even with
do.
them, the shroom light, sea lantern, frog lights, all of those. I remember when glowstone was pretty much the only light block we had. Well, and probably end rods too, but in those early days of Minecraft, I was too afraid to venture into the end for those. So I usually just stuck with the glowstone and redstone lamps, and I think that was the two main ones I used, but it's nice to have all of the other options we have.
Or maybe disguising torches and hiding them somewhere so that you can still get the light but not know there's a torch there. But from a survival perspective, even creative for me, I know when I used to heavily rely on sea lanterns because I never liked the texture of glowstone as much as, or at least I didn't know the purposes where I could use it.
Sea lanterns was better than glowstone, but then over time, what was added? There was a new light source that was added. Maybe it was the shroom light.
Could be the shroom light.
When something was added, I'm like, okay, forget sea lanterns. I'm using this now. And then when frog lights were added, I'm like, oh, forget the shroom light. I'm using this now.
Oh yeah. But that's the thing where I would actually I would favor redstone lamps over glowstone, even if I had to put a switch to them to be able to activate them, just because for me there were limited places where I could hide glowstone and make it look like a realistic light source, because there weren't too many modern fixtures that would have had that really specific texture of glowstone. Like if you look at on a light bulb or a light panel, you don't usually see that. So there were only very few builds in my early days where I could incorporate glowstone as it was, until eventually then I came across sea lanterns. But then I said, well, this is going to become really, really repetitive very quickly. Although I loved it for ceilings where I had to light the whole thing up. There are some mid-century designs that just have luminous ceilings where the whole ceiling is a massive light panel, or everything is, instead of like the panels you can push up, every single one of those panels is light. So then I said, perfect, sea lanterns will be the way to go. But then even then, eventually, when the light blocks were a thing, then that became my new light source for things that actually kind of expanded my scope of lighting things. So I could actually light blocks that never originally were intended to be lit, but they can kind of look like they're illuminated, yet still actually give off light and have that light of 15 or something. So that's kind of cool.
I did have one more question, and this one is more of a how many can you answer question. So,
Oh boy.
and
Okay.
I also did my best on listing as many blocks as I could see fit in this category, but again, my list could be inaccurate because this is my personal list. But how
No
many
problem.
types of blue blocks can you name? And
Okay, blue blocks.
yeah, and we're not counting light blue and dark blue. We're just counting like the block type.
Okay. So just in terms of what has a blue shade, in a sense.
In a sense, yes.
And these have to be full blocks, or can they be things like the blue flowers as well?
Oh, I just realized I'm missing one on my list. Not flowers. This is just, well,
Okay.
I put other decorative blocks in here, but I forgot to put flowers. So let me just add that to.
Okay. Let's add them in there too. So
There
we're
is
going to
really
say
only
so,
one blue.
okay.
There's 2 blue flowers, aren't there? Yeah, there's 2.
Yeah, there's the cornflower and there's the is it the azure, whatever it is, something?
The
Or
the
there's
orchid,
another one.
the blue orchid.
Blue orchid, yeah. Oh, the azure blue, I think, was a it was a light gray one or whatever it was.
Oh no, never mind. I did have
Whatever
the
it
other
was
thing
called.
there. Yeah, I don't think I put. Did I put flowers on this list? I don't know. I was mostly thinking
Maybe we
of
can-
blocks, but I tried to list as many blue
Yeah.
things as I could think of. So okay, we got flowers.
I'll disregard. Okay, well let's count flowers as one category.
Yeah.
There's lapis for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There is are we counting the ore form of it too?
Yep.
That has blue.
Because that's a separate block.
Okay. Yes. So then you got the terracotta, you've got the glass, you've got the concrete, you've got the glazed terracotta. There's one that is coming to be. I don't know if I would count the coral block when it's not dead. Maybe I could count that essentially.
Yes, that counts.
How many are we at now with that?
Wait,
That would
can
be
you, I don't even know what you
6 or
said.
7? Okay,
I'm
I'll
trying
go
to
back
keep
again.
track.
So we'll start with the coral. Okay, so coral blocks, that's 1. The glass, that's 2. The concrete, the terracotta, the lapis block, the lapis ore blocks, that's 6 now.
And you said
The
glazed
flowers we're
terracotta.
going to say is 7. Glazed terracotta was 8. And I know there's going to be more. The ice is 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that. But this is also I'm grouping ice, packed ice, and blue ice.
Yeah, that's what I
altogether,
did
'cause
too.
That's basically that makes sense. I know there's I'm thinking back now to where I've ever had to use blue in
Well,
my
think of
builds.
you can also think of what blocks
There's
have the
wool.
16 color palette and just eliminate all of
Yes.
those.
That's right. Yeah, wool. I don't know if I'm missing another one, and I'm sure that I will. I don't know if banners will count too.
Yep,
but
they
that's
count.
going to be 12.
Anything with blue.
Beds as well. Yep. There's the bed. There's probably more, but
There
I'll
are.
stop there. So yes. So we were at like 12 or 13. You're probably internally, Meg, going, Rainboom, you should know this one. And I was just kind of screaming the answer
There
already.
is
and trying
one
to...
very obvious one. In fact, if you look at our logo, maybe you'll think of it.
Oh my goodness. Yes, of course. The the infamous dull diamond block. Yeah, that's
Yes.
true, because that is kind of a light blue. Yeah. Of course, we're not called, we didn't use a lapis block or call ourselves anything else for that reason. So. Okay. Are there others that I'm sure I'm missing? There's definitely going to be at least
You
one
said
or two that I'm
concrete, but I
missing.
had concrete powder as another one.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you said lapis ore, but you didn't say diamond ore.
Diamond, of course. Yes, that's true, because there's a diamond block. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And the other ones, it might be a little bit harder to think of. Shulker boxes, you can dye it blue, so
Yes,
I counted
blue,
that.
Yes, that's true. That's fair. Yep, because there is a blue shulker box. Yeah.
And candles, they can be dyed blue.
Yes, that's
now
true.
These two I have on here, even though they're kind of in between blue and green, so I don't know if it really counts as a blue block. But I was trying to figure it out.
Prismarine would kind of be.
Would you
there almost
consider
in a sense,
warped
actually.
wood a blue block or more green?
Oh, good question. Yeah. It could be in the middle, because the warped ones, and the same honestly goes with the certain. Well, actually, never mind. They're kind of more green compared to blue.
I think so.
Actually, I kind of call them green. Never mind. I was gonna say the copper one. There was a certain copper, but that is.
Oh yeah, the
definitely more
copper
green
ones
than
are
it is blue.
those are more green too.
Yeah.
And then, but the
whatever, the
prismarine,
oxidized ones, yeah.
prismarine bricks, are those more blue? Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, those kind of
sea
look bluish to
lanterns.
me.
Those,
Yeah. Prismarine. Oh, yes. We were just talking about that.
Yeah. I forgot those.
Prismarine bricks. Yes. Although, because the thing is, dark prismarine to me looks more green
It
than
is,
it does blue.
but I
which
think
is
it's just the bricks that is more blue.
The bricks that kind of have more of a bluish tint. And then prismarine itself has blue
the prismarine itself
to it,
shifts from green to blue.
But it shifts from green
it's
to
not
blue.
just
and purple,
a blue block.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah, but kind of a half blue block then in that case.
All right. Well, the only other two I have are beacon and all of the soul blocks. So soul fire, soul lanterns, soul torches.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
All this to say, there's not very many blue blocks, and we need more.
We need more. And honestly, if you really wanted to stretch it, although I don't know if you're going to use this in creative, but any of the skulk blocks, which are a very, very dark blue, unless you count those more like black.
I consider those more dark green, but
green. Okay, maybe I was looking.
But I mean, I was looking at those and trying to decide if I should include them on the list. But again, this is a very subjective thing.
That's the thing. It's kind of a ballpark estimate of how many blue blocks there are.
And I don't know how many we named, but it doesn't. It's not that many.
Too.
There's fewer blue blocks than there are light emitting blocks.
Yes. 100%. There are, and it's still mind-blowing to me how many there are in total, because you use them, you think about them, but you never really accumulate them to realize just how many there are. I'm sure the same would go for if we had to count how many gray blocks there were. Maybe not as many light.
I was almost going to do purple,
light,
but that was proving to be difficult too, because I'm like, does this technically count as purple? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, gray would be really cumbersome, because then you have all these different gray areas all throughout too.
That's probably 75% of the
intended.
blocks are gray.
If you ever want, if you're listening and if you ever want to give somebody the ultimate Minecraft quiz, see if you can get them to name every single gray block for whatever spectrum of gray there is on the spectrum of gray.
Yeah, are we talking about a reddish gray? Are we talking about a cool gray? Are we talking about a brown gray?
Also equally as subjective, apparently. But no, it's interesting though to know and this really comes to show how far Minecraft has gone from a blocks perspective. Every version with all the little blocks and introductions that have been added, I'm sure that if I were to look at the creative menu back at 1.8 and relive some nostalgia, I would be really surprised to see just how few there are, I think, and because of all the introduced blocks over all the years of the versions, and even if some of them are small, again, it all adds up.
And it's kind of funny because we are always still wanting new blocks, and what do they keep doing? They keep adding new gray ones every time. Now, like, we're getting pale wood. It is white wood, which is nice. I am happy about that. I'm happy to get trap doors that are white. It does have touches of black mixed in for some of the parts, but it still looks a lot better than using an iron trapdoor for everything.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, why do they keep adding gray blocks? Why can't they add more colored stuff?
You know, if only the birch texture, not the interior birch wood, but the actual outside trunk was converted into something that was skinned as a trapdoor or something, even if it had the slightest black, that white actually could also work too. That was on the birch texture, but I guess that was never meant to be.
I think we're definitely lacking, though, in blues and purples the most.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Blues and purples.
And maybe whenever they do an end update, because there's a lot of purple in the end, maybe they'll...
That is true.
As long as everything doesn't end up looking like more purple blocks. We don't need more purple blocks.
And that's the thing. I think purple's tricky because there are many different shades of purple that people might have specific reasons to use. But I think a lot of people have strayed from purple because it's just not the right shade of purple they're looking for. So I know every time I've wanted to incorporate a purple kitchen or some purple room in one of my structures, I can never find a block, and I would either have to sneak in the purple concrete or the terracotta or wool even. Even the wool is kind of a really sharp purple. I couldn't really use that for anything
You'd
for
almost
building,
have to
right?
use,
So
if you want a dulled purple, the best block, oddly enough, is the blue terracotta. It looks like a nice dull purple.
Exactly. In vanilla. I know if you have a texture pack or something that corrects the colors, it's going to be different. And also, I think on a mini map, it does look a lot truer to its color than it would in person. So, but that is very true. Purple, the blue terracotta, I would use that as an alternate for purple, just because that's what it is. But trying to find the right kind of purple for us to use would be really interesting. Hopefully one day down the road, maybe there might be some mysterious biome that'll actually get that to, or yeah, as you said, maybe the end will start to look more vibrant and colorful. Maybe the end cities might have more than just purple, or maybe other shades of purple there too, or something. But it's interesting. Well, I mean, we'll only know until new versions come out. So, hey, we love to hear from you, though, too, as well, if you're listening. If you have any thoughts or ideas about versions yourself, or have any corrections to make regarding our explorations into all the different block types in the little quiz that I clearly failed,
or
then
let us
you're welcome
know,
to share.
What kind of blocks are you most excited to see added to the game? We
are always looking as well, not just for your inputs and what you think about this episode, but questions are always open for every episode coming up, because I'll accept this episode because I think Meg was asking me the questions, so we made a little exception this time. But in most episodes, for what you may have heard previously, and hopefully what we'll be doing down the road, we always have questions that are taken from people like you, and we'd love to hear your questions and try to answer them as best as we can. So be sure to find Meg's server. Actually, that's where you can drop all the questions, Meg's Discord server, and that's where you'll be able to answer the questions. You can also be sure to check out this podcast in whatever form. Well, you might be listening to one form right now, but it is available on YouTube and on Spotify podcasts, I believe, for the version that you're not listening to. But we
and
are
Apple
looking
Podcasts,
forward to them.
I think.
And Apple Podcasts, yes. So the podcasting platform and YouTube, basically, I'll generalize those two and put them into one category so we don't. So, and in case there's another platform I'm forgetting that somehow our podcast is on. But either way, I mean, thank you for stopping by and listening and hearing us rant, reflect, or talk, or just fail miserably on the different Minecraft versions. And we'll see what the new version brings up. I'm sure we're going to revisit this conversation, Meg, and sort of think about, gee, what were our thoughts like when 1.22 was introduced? Maybe one day 1.40 is already out. Then we're going to look like 20 versions back. See what happens, So, but anyways, thanks for listening. And until the next episode, we'll see you then.
See you.